write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, who looks like he's ready to go. Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. Easy Blues, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have thus today on Behind the Brand?
Everyone has to bear with me today. This Friday the 13th, I'm currently listening to the Muhammad Ali book on tape, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. And it's so incredible that we actually can segue into this incredible aspect, because no matter what, one of the most incredible things about Muhammad Ali is every time someone tested him, he was able to rise to that occasion. Every time the world crumbled around him, he then gathered with the people closest to him and he fortified. And that can be said and then some about our next guest. In its darkest moments, most people would fold and crumble. This man went internal, surrounded himself with his family and the musical family that he has planted in here for decades, and has grown and has risen. We were honored to have him on during the pandemic to promote his incredible music. And tonight, at our favorite venue, Sans, that's not, with the best chicken sandwich in forever, in our favorite venue in New Haven, you have the ability, if it is not sold out yet at noon today, you have the ability tonight to go see this man and the incredible family, and I do say musical family, that will be there tonight. So I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving, you keep your hands at 10 and 2, but mentally put your hands together for the incredible songwriter, the incredible human being, the incredible designer of these amazing, I have my fairy house in my living room because my kids refuse to let me have it in my office. These incredible fairy houses, which will also be at his merch table tonight. You definitely want to take a look at some of those. Put your hands together for Stephen Peter Rodgers. Brother, how are you? And I remember the name change, which is good for me.
Well, thank you very much. It's actually not a name change, and thank you for having me. It's not a name change. It's a name change. It's changing back to the name, my God-given or parental given name. That's, I was named Stephen Peter Rodgers. I was named Stephen after the first martyr in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And Peter's my father's name, who was also, Jesus's right-hand dude. And so, not that I'm trying to get uber religious on anyone here, but it's Stephen Peter Rodgers is what I was, that's what I was named when I was born. And Steve was just always just easier for people to say. And the only people that have ever called me Stephen up until this point are, it's with a PH is like my mother. And when my wife's mad at me, and maybe a couple of ex-girlfriends.
and that's usually how it is when it comes down to it. I for the longest period of time during my rebellious years as a youth, I thought my name was all four. I thought my name was Dustin Joseph Kelly Sclafani, and just because those were the ways in which I'd gotten myself in trouble.
Yep, sure.
It works out incredible. But this is a very interesting journey for you since our last talk, since the last time we had you on here. Obviously everything kind of locked down with the pandemic, and you in this amazing basement that you have. And for the people who have not been honored and blessed to be down to see this incredible train station that is in the basement of your amazing, I will call it the Rodgers estate. That is what it is now known as, the Rodgers Ferry Estate. That is what it is. When you're in the basement, the Rodgers Ferry Estate.
It's only 950 square feet, so I don't want people to think I'm living behind some gated mansion in West Hartford or something. It's a humble little ranch house. Yeah.
Okay, so the humble Rodgers estate, Ferry Estate. When you go down into the basement, the incredible train sets, but also it became like your laboratory. And it was like what initially started out as just kind of like putting out some demos so that you can continue to create has now turned into what we are celebrating tonight, this incredible record. Now, what was the process like to be a self-producer?
So I began my life in recording studios when I was 14 years old. That's when somebody took notice of us. A guy who was a sound guy at a local club and had some recording equipment. And he kind of took us under his wing. He was our first manager. And so we recorded our first demos with him, and we thought that we were going to make it big because we got played on WPLR on a Sunday night, and that, I mean, it was huge for us. We were kids, and then sort of towards the middle of our teenage years, we changed our band name from Only Two to Mighty Purple because we were 4 people now. It wasn't just me and my brother anymore. And we started going into the studio on a regular basis to record our first album, which was called Revolution, which came out 30 years ago this year, which is really wild because I'm not even mentally 30 at all yet. Revolution came out in the autumn of 1992, and then we recorded that in a barn, which was a recording studio in a barn in upstate New York. And then we recorded our next 2 albums at Applehead Studios in New York. And it was funny, we thought we'd made it because we drove our camper and all of our gear, and the 5 of us guys up there in the band, and King Crimson was just leaving, so we were like, wow, this is amazing, and we thought we're in the studio, but really what was happening is that the record label that we were on just was spending a lot of money. But those records that we did that was at Applehead Studio in Woodstock, New York. The second record that we did there went national and got all kinds of play all over the radio, and we ended up touring nationally to support that. So I spent years and years. Mighty Purple made 8 official albums. I have 2 or 3 solo albums prior to the one that's about to come out. But I never was the guy who pushed the buttons. I was always the guy who was like, all right, go play this guitar part, go sing the best you can. Let's do a few takes. And I was the guy writing the songs with my brother. And I just I always had some kind of blockage or fear of the recording process. And I always had really wonderful people to do it, such as Vic Steffens, and just to name one local legend. I worked with Mighty Purple worked with Vic on 1, 2, 3 albums. And then I did my last album with Vic too. So I've done 4 albums with Vic Steffens. And when Vic Steffens is at the board, you don't need to get involved. It's just it's good to go, right? I mean, I also, we did a record. Mighty Purple did a record with Scott Amore. When Scott Amore's at the board, you don't need to ask him any questions or do anything because he does everything perfectly. But I never realized that if I was behind the board, and if I was behind creating and producing, that it would be a whole different process for me. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I basically owned a really crappy Mac that I'd had for a while, a little Mac Mini, and a friend loaned me like a really crappy mic, and I had a really crappy interface. And I just started learning how to use like the most simple of simple things, which was GarageBand, and I've since upgraded for sure. But I'd never pushed the record button by myself before, and I also always saw myself as just a rhythm guitar player and singer songwriter. And I pushed myself more musically in the last 2 years during COVID than I have since I was a kid, going on the road all the time and playing 200 shows a year, all that sort of thing. When I had the space and the outer space, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to put it into creating because I was creating spaces for other people to create.
Right.
And so I almost sort of all but lost my my creative spirit along the way of being like this entrepreneurial business, guy, which has never suited me very well. I'm an artist. I'm not a, you know, I'm not a paper pusher. And certainly, I think I'm a bit too sensitive to, go go for the throat when I have to. When I had to, I'm much more gentle. So anyway, during the beginning of the pandemic, I built this little ragtag studio, and I started making some noises, and then I started, also during the pandemic, buying and selling, fixing up, and then selling beginner guitars, and that's how I raised enough money to start to purchase equipment that was, actually meaningful. And I also had, my brother got all my friends to chip in and get me, a couple of really decent mics and that sort of thing. And during the pandemic, I also restored some keyboards, some vintage keyboards. I've always, loved the sound of Fender Rhodes and a Wurlitzer 200, and behind me is my Yamaha CP70, and that's
Nice.
I had one for the longest time. My friend Jimmy Day, who was the lighting guy, still is the lighting guy at Toads, had basically had to get one of those CP70s out of the basement of Toad's place, about 20 years ago, and ended up, it was 25 years ago, and giving it to me and my brother to put in what was the original space, which was the illegal warehouse space underneath the bridge where the space got its name from. So I started restoring keyboards, and I started writing a lot more on piano. And I really started really just taking my guitar playing more seriously than I ever have in my life, and learning how to do new things. My brother lives 3,000 miles away from me now, and he was my partner in crime and always the lead guitar player, because quite frankly, he's one of the best guitar players, around, and and has traveled the whole country, not just with Mighty Purple, but with lots of other people. And so I gave myself a challenge after I had my studio built up to write and record one song a week for a year. And what I ended up with was about 40-ish songs in that year period. Some of them no one will ever hear, right. Just because they'll never know. Some of them were a bit more like journal entries than songs that should go out. And the pandemic was a very challenging time, I think, for all of us in different ways. We all I think we all had different stuff going on in our head, and I definitely had a whole series of thoughts going on in my head. Am I worthy enough? Am I good enough to pursue music still? There was a lot of self-doubt that went on in my mind and my heart throughout the pandemic. And writing all this music was very healing for me. And the songs that came out and the songs that have ended up on the album, which I'm sorry that I forgot to send that to you guys here in advance, but you'll get
okay. It's fine.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
We're good. No worries.
Focus on community and hope, and treating people in the world, better than you would treat yourself, and just and uniting people. So that's really like, sort of the theme of the album. And then one of the two themes, and then the other theme of the album is really, fighting deep, dark depression, because it's a very real thing. And I think I'm glad it's finally being talked about in the sort of grand scheme of the world in the last few years, but it was really tough, but at one time a few years ago, to sort of bring up the fact mental illness was sort of a taboo to talk about. And for those of us who do struggle with mental illness, I think it's really good, especially from an artistic standpoint, to put out as much as you can from your heart, just to let other people know that you're not going through it alone. So songs that ended up on the album, I'm gonna read off my little list here.
Bring it on.
Yeah, so the first song on the album is called Back into the Muddy River, and I wrote that song just about my thought process about what happens after at the end of life and the afterlife. And my grandfather was a New Age writer named Joseph Chilton Pierce. He wrote a book called The Crack in the Cosmic Egg, and he died about 4 or 5 years ago. And I got to missing him one night. This is over the pandemic. All these songs were written during the pandemic, but I got to missing him one night, and so I looked up, I looked him up online, and there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos and stuff. People that would interview him. He really he was a big part of the sort of hippie movement in the 1960s. The book Cosmic Egg, was one of those books that was sort of a go-to for the hippie movement. And some of the things that he said just kind of ended up, in the lyrics of that song, some of the things that he was saying in some of those videos. And I just got really emotional, and I ended up writing that song in a few minutes. And the next song, Real Life, it was really hard being at home without friends for a long time. We had one family that our family potted with, and that fella was my best friend, but we'd only see them maybe once every other week or something. And so it was lonely, and I was ready for the darn pandemic to be over. So I wrote Real Life, and the chorus is let's live a real life again, because I think even pre-pandemic, many of us were just kind of like shuffling our feet and kind of getting along. And I think the pandemic, at least it taught me, to never take any day for granted. Get up, whether get up and kick butt, whether you are rewiring lamps for a living, or building fairy houses, or talking on the radio, or whatever it is that you do, building houses, whatever, do it with your whole heart. And I wrote a song called Self Talk, which is on the album, which is about all the voices, in your head. There's sort of like we used to call it the devil on the shoulder and the angel on the shoulder. Somehow they've gotten from the shoulder into the ear.
Like completely.
They're just talking in there all the time, right?
All the time.
Non-stop debates.
So, and during the pandemic, there was nobody to hang out with at night, and sometimes I'd make phone calls and stuff, but I really ended up, I ended up, having this inner conversation, for 6 months with myself, and then I started putting it on paper, and some of the songs that are on the album did come out. But the song Self Talk is really fun. You'll hear it at the show. We're there. Yeah, we're excited about that one. Another song called Be True to Who You Are, which I think a lot of people have lost sight of that, especially during a really tough time. And then there's some fun songs. My I Really Don't Want to Go to Work Today song called Train Whistle, about hearing the trains from the first train whistle of the day is the first. I spent 5 hours sleeping. Workday clock is creeping. 5 more to the whistle blows, and tomorrow I'll do it again. It's sort of like a going grind song. And then there's another song called May the Sun Shine on Your Face, which is just kind of like a blessing to all my friends, that for them to have success and happiness and love. And then the Speck on a Clover song is I'm gonna leave that. You'll hear that one today on the show. So
on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. We got Steve Rodgers on behind the brand. Easy. Go ahead.
This is awesome, because what I really love, what really just transpired is a lot of people, when they'll pick up a record, or like tonight when I grab my vinyl of Speck on a Clover, you just see how many tracks are going to be on the record. You don't realize that there could, for a 10-song record, there could be 40 songs written that you do have to go through, that there is this extra process that is there. Now, don't get me wrong, some artists go in with 10 songs, they're phenomenal 10 songs, and that's fine. But even that writing process prior to that, even like what we do, we take the song and we road test it. If 5 or 6 live audiences really dig the song, we know it's a song we need to work out more. If it doesn't necessarily go over, we'll sometimes scrap the song and start all the way from the beginning. But it's a process that a lot, like the average listener, doesn't necessarily know. You
No,
know,
they don't. And honestly, a few of these songs have never been road tested live in front of anybody. So tonight at the State House, you're going to see these road tested for the first time. So hopefully they don't crash and burn. I don't think they will. I have such a terrific bunch of musicians playing with me. You know, and they're, you know, some of the folks that I'm playing with are just, you know, world class musicians who have toured all over the world, and just, you know, I love them to death. They're close friends. You know, David Keith, my drummer, well, my friend first, and longtime Mighty Purple drummer, and also killer drummer. He plays with Richie Blackmore's Night. You know, Blackmore from Deep Purple, and he's also played with Rainbow, Richie Blackmore's, you know, other project. And you know, if I think if you get to play castles with Richie Blackmore across Europe, you kind of made it. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit.
I think that works. Yeah. And of course, Seth Adam is just one of the hardest working musicians in the biz, and you know, plays bass with me at some shows, and guitar at other shows, but he's playing bass on this one. And a wonderful things happen, and that's that Jesse Griswold is singing with me again. We had a band together called Arms and Voices, you know, for 3 years, and that sort of wrapped up about a year before my time at the Spaces ended. So I'm really excited to sing with her again. And another woman who's singing with me is Liz McNichol, who is a she's a terrific songwriter. She's an Irish singer, and she sings in a lot of the Irish pubs and stuff, but she just has a tremendous voice, and she's also become a good friend, and so she's great. And then Colin Meyer is playing guitar with me. My brother was not able to make it out from the West Coast for this one, due to some other tour obligations. So Colin Meyer is playing, and he's in a band called The Soldier Story. And they're just, if you haven't heard The Soldier Story, you need to look them up and get them on your show. They are just, I think that, and I don't want to offend anybody out there, you know, that might be in local bands, including yourself listening, but Soldier Story is my favorite album that's come out in the last, you know, Connecticut album that's come out in the last 2 years. And they, you know, they don't play very often, and you know, but I'd put it right up there with anything. I mean, you know, for I guess strictly speaking, indie rock genre, you know, if I was to, you know, I mean, Chesky puts out great records. There's great punk records that come out in town. There's so many genres, but that one's one that spoke to my heart, is the last Soldier Story record. And then Sean O'Reilly's playing keyboards with me, and he's a terrific singer songwriter as well. And he, you know, he's just a great piano player. And then, you know, another brother from another mother is Ben Dean, who's been playing fiddle with me for the past 4 or 5 years. During the pandemic, he and I went around and basically played every single backyard house concert that would have us, because most of our gigs got canceled, obviously, during the pandemic. So Ben and I ended up playing on average 1 to 2 house concerts per week in social house concerts during the entire pandemic. And that kept the wolf from the door, as my father used to say. Anyway, and in that process, Ben just became a very close friend, and he was in a band called Caravan of Thieves for a long time. And yeah, then they're terrific. And he's just I'd say Ben's one of the most talented musicians also that I know. And it's just such a privilege to play with these guys. It is a 7-member band, so it has been it's been fun to you know, sort of take these songs from, you know, me playing almost everything, although David Keith did play drums on the songs. You know, he recorded them remotely during the pandemic. But I played, you know, 90% of all the other parts, and you know, the keys and some drums and bass, and you know, luckily I did have Ben on a song and Seth on a song, but most of this album I really developed by myself, which is the first time I've ever done that in my life. I've always had a band and a producer and a real studio and rehearsals beforehand, but this time it was like, you know what? I'm gonna put this really wacky synth sound on here because there's nobody here to tell me I shouldn't do that, and I'm gonna
Right.
do whatever I want.
Mhm.
So
I
I
see
ended
the
up.
excitement in your face. It's crazy. Don't you see it easy?
Oh no, I totally see it. And what I love is actually you mentioned Cheshki, and that was actually a comparison I wanted to make. For those who have not been to a Steve Rogers show or a Cheshki show, it's a different type of vibe where it is so community centric, and it is so kind of like, I'm so looking forward to being there tonight just to hug and touch base with so many people I haven't seen, because it's like a family reunion. I love that you're road testing new songs, but you're doing it in front of your family. It's something that I said from the beginning of the show. I'm going to say continuously. Your musical is tremendous. And it is an honor to sit there and watch it all happen. I was at the State House when you released the last record, and it really was just a different level of concert going experience.
Well, this one,
Be-
that one, I'd sort of had this a year between when the spaces closed and when that, you know, well, it was 2 years from when the spaces ended for me and when that record came out.
Mhm.
Or no, it was only a year. What am I talking about? I can't even like keep my years straight. Anyway,
Time flies by.
yeah, it really does. Yeah, so, yeah. January 2018 was the last time I stepped foot in the Treadwell complex, and and then in 2019 April is when I put out that record.
Mhm.
Um, and I have discovered so much more about myself and about the music. And I'm not only having musicians at this show tonight. Um, I'm involving a lot of other people in the community. Falconeer Productions is going to be doing a whole bunch of amazing projections that Electra, who is the head of Falconeer Productions, you know, she's come up with some amazing projections for the show, based on the songs. And I also have Sam Carlson and team who are going to be filming the show. For me, this show is kind of like a proof of concept show,
Mhm.
because my dream is to take this thing on the road and start to take different Connecticut musicians out on the road, to do kind of like almost just like a family affair kind of Northeast and East Coast tour style thing where we also link up with with like-minded community oriented bands and musicians in other towns, and so having this show filmed, and I've focused solely on the music for months and months and months. But for the last month, I've been building a stage set, and I'm really excited about it. But I'm not going to talk about it. You'll have to come to the show to see it.
I am excited.
I
I am
was a
ex-
theater kid, I was a theater kid, and so I have it in my, I have it just in my blood where I, not only want to create, not only want to just, share songs and play music, but I want there to be a whole experience for people too. And, I think when my last record came out, the end of the spaces was such an intense time for me that I hadn't really had a chance to re-explore, my production elements and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But over the pandemic, I sure started creating things and started making a whole lot of fairy houses. I'd never made a fairy house before 2018.
Mhm.
Oh
And
wow.
and then I also started creating a lot of steampunk art as well,
Right.
which I love. I think nope, they're all out in the shed. Oh well, I showed you one. Like, hey,
Ah, but hey, if they do want to see it though, they can see it tonight. They can see some of the stuff
yeah,
tonight.
yep,
Your merch
exactly.
table.
So it's a very special show that I have planned, and I have some of New Haven's best production people involved in the show, like from lighting to sound to
Right.
the Falconeer,
Mhm.
and then I just a lot of behind the scenes people. Rick Demko is he's going to be you know the man behind the curtain, making sure everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do, because he's the guy to entrust with that for sure. He's the best.
No, he definitely is. And really, what I want the audience at home that are listening right now to really understand, yes, these are top of the line people in New Haven 100%. But these are all also friends. These are all human beings that you have broken bread with and support you for the human being that you are. I don't, I get it. We've all spent some time in the corporate machine, but the most important thing, and one of the things that I love and respect about you the most, is you connect with people.
I'm so happy to bring all these people together, and some of them don't even know each other yet, and I'm so excited for, like, some of my musicians have never met each other yet. I've had to, yes, some of my musicians have never met each other yet. I've had to do a lot of individual rehearsals. My drummer lives in Nashville now. He's up the show tonight, so hooray! These kind of folks, the musicians that I'm playing with are not necessarily the kind of folks that need full rehearsals, which is terrific, But we also aren't just playing the songs exactly as the record is. Maybe a couple of them, but these are really intuitive musicians. So I'm super excited. Yeah, Dave lives in Nashville, and congratulations to Seth Adam, who just had a baby. So I haven't even really been able to get together with him very much. I'll say this: we had a rehearsal 2 nights ago. If it's Friday, on the 11th, we had a rehearsal, and that's the first time that some of these folks have met each other. But they're all kindred spirits, and I'm really looking forward to a whole bunch of people being in the room, who are not only people that I have relationship and history with. There's also a whole bunch of people that I don't know that come see me play, and all of those, like, I want them to be my new friends. So if I haven't met you before, come up and give me a high five. Right.
There you go. High five or a knuckle pound, depending on what you're comfortable with.
Whatever, yeah.
Either or.
Just don't punch in the face. Don't be a Will Smith. Don't be a Will Smith.
There'll be no Will Smithing there. I happen to know the door guy personally, and none of those shenanigans will happen.
So as a door guy, you don't throw people through like a glass window out. There is no glass window at the State House, so they're safe. I'm just kidding. You are the guy, Dustin, who uses.
There's no glass windows, but there's a really big part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I
rather large parking lot, and there's also a lot of people that love and support us, and they take care of those type of things for us, which is amazing.
When I did, my bouncer was my words, and not my. I don't have brute strength. I'm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a waspy little artist, so.
A hard working one at that.
Yeah, and I love working. It's been really interesting having my studio now, because I've started to work with a whole bunch of different artists here. I just finished albums for some developing acoustic singer-songwriters here in New Haven. Dust Devil Heart is a female duo from New Haven that just they have beautiful harmonies, and they write songs about real heartfelt things, and they're family and community oriented, and they're going to be playing 3 songs on the show tonight. And then Sarah Dunn, I just finished an album for her, and she's also just a lovely person. And I've actually put Sarah Dunn and Dust Devil Heart together for shows, and now they're friends, which is wonderful. And Sarah's also playing tonight. And then Jen D from Pony Bird is also playing tonight. I'm sure you're familiar with Pony Bird. She's also in We Are Bison. Then Sam Carlson is also sharing some songs tonight. Instead of sort of doing the standard, like, 2 openers doing 45-minute sets each, I've decided, to include a bunch of people who are just a big part of my world during the height of the pandemic. And Sam was one of those folks, when I was learning how to record. Sam Sam kind of took me under his wing and helped me do some mixing and mastering of some of my songs, because I didn't have my sea legs yet with it, and I don't claim to now either. I just but I learned a whole lot from Sam, and he became a real friend in the process. I've known Sam since he was a kid playing at the Space and all that stuff, and always grew up. I always really enjoyed all the bands that he played with, and the community of bands that he was around. But I was a busy club owner guy, who didn't.
Oh boy.
I think we lost him.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Oh boy, we learned so much. Oh my goodness.
Oh
no. Oh no,
Oh,
I think we'll be back on, but we learned a lot, Dustin. Really did.
We learned a ton, and again, what I really want to hammer home for the people that are listening, is that family aspect. It isn't just like playing another show. It isn't just like recording a different record. It is that family aspect that moves forward. You're back.
Sorry.
It happens.
Sorry about that dumb technology.
Listen,
I wish we were in the same room together. The next time we do this, we're getting in the same room together.
Because he's getting a phone call right now. That's it. No,
yeah, I declined. I learned from
my
mistake. Yeah.
Well, and that's the key, because that is something like moving forward in different things. One of the different avenues that Prestige and I have been talking about is actually a concept that we might be working with Bill Carpenter. I believe that's his name. Where we actually sit down with an artist and go over one single song that they wrote. And to talk about that incredible writing process, everything, any minute sound that's on the record, and then to play that live. That is one of the things that we are looking forward to moving forward with our expansion. Oh, we just dropped a little bit of knowledge today too. Usually other people are saying are dropping big claims, but today we put that one on wax. Oh man, now we officially have to do it, P. Man, I should have kept my mouth shut.
No. We can still tease them. Nothing's official yet. We can still tease them. I felt like saw the whole entire concert, Steve. How much are you not giving away tonight?
How much am I not giving away?
Yeah, man.
As far as what am I not?
It felt like I got all the spoilers to the movie when it came to your show. I want to be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Like
Not even. There's so much more.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is the frosting of the cake. Okay.
It's just frosting, and I mean, I guess if we were going to walk away with 3 words, it would be music, community, and love. That for tonight. So that's the whole game right there.
Of course, man.
Yeah. And sometime I'd love for you guys to have some of my other friends on, who are creating really just amazing music, or some of them are creating amazing art as well. I'd love to connect you with some folks.
Oh, definitely. Just give us the names.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because we're actually next month we are going to have Sarah on. She actually. She hit myself and Tristan up. We're gonna do an acoustic thing for her album release.
Great. I'll be there.
We love her so much, and again, and for those that don't know, I actually did have back surgery a couple of weeks ago, and Sarah Dunn did this incredible thing. She did what's called like a meal train and got people to donate, and it really did during a time where I didn't even want to think about thinking.
I may not have thrown in for that meal train, my good friend.
I know, and I appreciate everything for that. Like, and it was such a surprise too, because she initially talked about it, and it's me, so I'm like, yeah, don't do that. That would be a horrible idea. Don't do that. Like, focus on other people.
No, that's her heart too. That's her heart. When she actually my wife actually had surgery, and sometime in the last year, and Sarah brought food over for us. She just has the best heart, and it's been a pleasure to work with her. And working with Dust Devil Heart and Sarah Dunn, and I'm doing a song with Pat Stone right now. I'm doing another song with Anna Menta right now. Pat Stone and the Dirty Boots; those guys are awesome. I've learned a whole heck of a lot about tech, the ins and outs of the recording process technology. I mean, I already knew the process, but about the technology. But I've also learned a tremendous amount about myself, not only music, but personally through the process. And I also ended up with one heck of a bass over here, which is super fun.
Yeah, look at that.
It's a nice little setup you got there.
So
it's actually a pretty big darn mess right now because
it's a beautiful mess, though. It's a beautiful mess.
Duct tape everywhere. I really, I've been building a stage set for a couple weeks, and there's just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a hoarder. It's a problem in my life, but I'm getting help for it from myself. But no, I'm not. I'm not getting any help at all. I am a problem hoarder, and there's nothing I can do. I'm going to start Hoarders Anonymous for myself.
Well, thank you for admitting your problem on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. We got a little more time with Steve Rodgers on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, EZ Blues.
Well, it's really interesting because, yes, you have hoarder tendencies, but you've also been able to take that tendency and create these other avenues of income as per your fairy houses, as per, the steampunk lamps that you do and different things like that, and even really, the studio itself, it has that patchwork type of feel, but it has that essence, look. I don't know if anyone has ever played an instrument that they've never owned before, but that somebody else has. You can feel a piece of their soul in that instrument.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, and that's kind of like how I feel about the stuff that, here we go. We're gonna see it now. How I feel about the stuff that you're putting out, and even the musician.
Some of these instruments, like this guy right here. I recorded this myself during the pandemic. I found it in a moldy basement. A friend of mine was selling it, but a mouse had eaten through most of the action parts. Yeah, here's a flyer for the show. I'll send you the digital, promise. Okay. But yeah, this thing right here is pretty killer. I've got to plug it in really quick because for some reason it's unplugged. That's all right though. It's going to be a little crackly right now because I've got a couple of things going on here. Here we go. Almost there. Here it is. That thing sound great.
Oh, it sounds beautiful.
I love it. So yeah, I replaced a whole bunch of parts in that thing during the during lockdown. I actually worked on, let's see, a whole bunch of different keyboards, and learned a whole bunch about different keyboard repair and that sort of thing. But that's my Wurlitzer 200. Like Stevie Wonder would use that one a lot. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. It's got that sound.
Right.
But I did a lot more writing on keys than I used to.
Right.
And I think that brought a different flavor to my song. So I'll be playing keys a little bit at the show. Maybe not. I'm not supposed to give anything else away, am I, Preston?
Yeah. You want to know? People just have to come out and see, and that really is the key aspect of it. Look, again, people can go to 1.5 million different live shows.
Yeah.
There's something different about how you connect personally with the audience itself, and there's a real genuine moment there.
Well, man, I appreciate you seeing that. I've been told that over the years many times, and I really appreciate that you see it and that you're mentioning it, because I think a lot of bands just get up there and just play,
Right.
Play their songs and rock out and have a great time. But for me, it's a lot more than about rocking out and having a great time. Although I do love that aspect of it more than anything else, but I think that within music, there's I think I want to bring a healing message to people
Right.
through what I have to say, and if I can be a uniter in any way, I want to be, especially in our divided world right now. And I'm a pacifist, and I'm also a lover of life, and so I just want to fight. I just want to fight darkness with good, and that's what I'm at. That's what we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna fight darkness with good.
And that is a beautiful thing. And for those who don't know, who just tuned in right now, you want to make sure tonight, when are the official doors?
Doors are at 7 o'clock. Sarah Dunn goes on at about 10 after.
Nice. Okay, so doors are at 7. Try to be there a little bit early. If you're there 10 minutes early, I'll be outside checking people in so that people can just walk in and get rocking and rolling. You want to be there a little bit early. Music is starting, and this is somewhat unheard of for shows as well. Music is starting 10 minutes after door opens. Usually they wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I've seen shows wait for an hour, and that starts to kind of dissipate your audience. But the fact that doors are opening, music is going to be starting right from jump, and everything has that type of aspect of it where it is that family type of reunion. Many a times I have been to a family reunion, and within the first 10 minutes, someone has the guitar out, and they're playing something while the uncle is barbecuing, and the third cousin is trying to get everyone to play softball, even though we all hate softball. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what's going on tonight.
So I wanted to include a whole bunch of different people in the show, like I said, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't just want to have two bands and all that stuff. I wanted all my friends that I've worked with in the studio and beyond to be able to share their songs at this thing. And I also know that my crowd varies in age from teenagers to people in their 60s. And so, we all have bedtimes. So, getting me and my band on by 9:30, because there's also, connecting with people after a show is just as important as playing the show, in my opinion. I'm really talking to people and getting inside people's heads and really sharing what your heart is with people off the microphone. It's just as important as playing up there. So I wanted to make sure that we got off early enough, so that I can really connect with people for a couple of hours afterwards. Well, at least the ones who are brave enough to stick around.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that is probably one of the most endearing things, for me, because yes, our paths have crossed many a times, but it really wasn't until that show at the State House where we really had a time to sit and have a conversation.
Yeah. Right. After, yeah.
And it was such a beautiful moment. It is one that I do truly cherish, to this very day. And I love the fact that, from someone who came out here from Long Island and had always been told that, if you're going to do anything like this, you have to connect with your name is always mentioned. Whether it be, through Matt Crosman, or whether it be through Jess, who I love. I mean, I actually did a photo shoot with her. She is such an incredible human being. Her voice is so soulfully amazing.
Yeah, just one of the best voices around here. Just one of the very best.
I have had the honor and privilege of singing some worship tunes with her, and be completely intimidated because her voice is just that huge. I'm like, I'm gonna sit back here. She's like, no, move up close to the microphone. I was like, no, I'm gonna sit back here. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, she was on my worship team for 2 or 3 years, and it was just a beautiful time every week. It's great with Jessie. She's so intuitive and has she just had she can find the lyrics and harmonies to a song she's never heard before right away. It's very savant like.
It is absolutely
and she's just a good friend to me and my family as well. As well as a lover of life, an amazing artist, an amazing musician. And I can't wait to see, to hear her record come out. It's really exciting,
Well,
So.
Unfortunately, the Apollo curtain has been pulled, and they are saying that it is time to go. We need to throw to your new song.
I gotta stage, man.
Yeah. Well, before you do that, how can people get in touch with you? Not just going to the State House tonight for 7 o'clock, but how can
Sure.
people get in touch?
So my website is Stephen, Stephen,
Mhm.
Peter, Rodgers, Rodgers. So Stephen Peter Rodgers.com.
Mm-hmm.
StephenPeterRogers.com is my website, and you can edit out a whole bunch of this junk and play a couple of my songs instead of me blabbing this whole time if you could.
Well, Steve, it's been an honor and a privilege. We are actually going to be playing one of your songs right now, but from us here behind the brand, it is always with an open heart that we love you so much and we love everything. Thank you for everything you've done.
I love you guys so much for having me on. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Absolutely, brother.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. On WNHH LP 103.5 FM, New Haven.
Try being all alone. Silence wreaking havoc in my head. I turn the radio on. They're talking about the end of the world again. This crazy human life. This world's as fragile as it's ever been. This crazy human life. Every action has a cost. Every word has a consequence. Every breath is closer to the end. Every thought has a mind. The truth itself deep down inside. Every truth is someone else's lie. But stop just getting through. It's time to live a real life. Wake up, let's live a real life. Staring at the sky, stars blur